Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Fireside Bible Study. Today we are in Deuteronomy, and today we are reading 17 through 25. On the last session, we read 9 through 16, and it was mostly just recap. Some reminders on things like unclean animals and clean animals, idolatry, the Ten Commandments, that kind of stuff. So we're getting refreshers on what the Lord had taught his people and us back in Exodus and in Leviticus. So we're going to continue on. I'll pray us in. We'll get started. Heavenly Father, we just come before you once again just to absorb the wisdom, continue the history and your word, and we just thank you every day for it, and we strive to continue to get to know you, and we really want to take in all the wisdom, and we thank you for that opportunity. Amen. Alright, administration of justice, chapter 17. You shall not sacrifice to the Lord your God an ox or sheep which has a blemish or any defect, for that is a detestable thing to the Lord your God. If there is found in your midst, and if any of your towns which the Lord your God has given you, man or woman who does evil in the sight of the Lord your God by violating his covenant, that person has gone and served other gods, worshipped them, the sun, moon, or any of the heavenly lights, which I have commanded not to do. And if it is reported to you have heard about it, then you shall investigate thoroughly. And if it is true, and the report is trustworthy, and that this detestable thing has been done in Israel, then you are to bring out to your gates that man or woman who has done this evil deed, that is the man or the woman, you shall stone them to death. On the testimony of 2 witnesses and 3 witnesses, the condemned shall be put to death. You shall not be put to death on the testimony of only 1 witness. The hands of the witnesses shall be the first against them to put him to death, and afterward the hands of all the people. So you shall eliminate the evil from your midst. If the case is too difficult for you to decide, between one kind of homicide or another, between one kind of lawsuit or another, and between one kind of assault or another, that are cases of dispute in your courts, you shall arise and go to the place which the Lord your God chooses. You shall come to the Levitical priests, or the judge who is in the office of those days. You shall inquire of them, and they will declare you to the verdict. Then you shall act in accordance with the terms of the verdict which they declare to you from that place which the Lord your God chooses. And you shall be careful to act in accordance with everything that they instruct you to do, in accordance with the terms of the law in which they instruct you, and in accordance with the verdict which they tell you, you shall act. You shall not turn aside from the word which they declare to you, right or the left. But if the person who acts insolently by not listening to the priest who stands there to serve the Lord your God, nor to the judge, the person shall die. You shall eliminate the evil from Israel. Then all the people who will hear and be afraid will not act insolently again. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you, you take possession of it and live in it, and you say, I will appoint a king over me like all the nations who are around me. You shall in fact appoint a king over you which the Lord your God chooses. One from among your countrymen you shall appoint as king over yourselves. You shall not put a foreigner over yourselves, anyone who is not your countryman. In any case, he is not to acquire many horses for himself, nor shall you make the people return to Egypt in order to acquire many horses, since the Lord has said to you, you shall never again return that way. And he shall not acquire many wives for himself, so that his heart does not turn away, nor shall he greatly increase silver and gold for himself. Now it shall come about, when he sits on the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write for himself a copy of this law on a scroll, in the presence of the Levitical priests. Let me scroll down a little there for you. And it shall be with him, he shall read it the days of his life, that he will learn to fear the Lord his God, and by carefully following all the words of his law and the 3 statutes, so that his heart he will not be haughty towards his countrymen, he will not turn away from the commandment to the right or the left, so that he and his sons may live long in the kingdom in the midst of Israel. 18. Portion for the Levites. The Levitical priests, the whole tribe of Levi, shall not have a portion in inheritance with Israel. They shall eat the Lord's offerings by fire, and his property. They shall not have inheritance among their countrymen. The Lord is their inheritance, as he promised them. Now this shall be the priest's portion from the people. To those who offer a sacrifice, either an ox or a sheep, they shall give the priest the shoulder, the 2 cheeks, and the stomach. You shall give them the first fruits of the grain, the new wine, the oil, the first fleece of the sheep. For the Lord your God has chosen him and his sons for all your tribes, to stand and serve in the name of the Lord always. Now if a Levite comes from any of your towns throughout Israel where he resides, and if he comes whenever he desires to the place the Lord your God chooses, he shall serve in the name of the Lord his God, like all his fellow Levites, who stand there before the Lord. They shall eat equal portions, except for what they receive from the sale of their father's estates. Spiritism forbidden. When you enter the land which the Lord your God is giving you, you shall not learn to imitate the detestable things of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone who makes his son or daughter pass through the fire, one who uses divination, soothsayer, one who interprets omens, or a sorcerer, one who casts a spell, medium, spiritist, or one who consults the dead. For whoever does these things is detestable to the Lord, and because these detestable things, the Lord your God is going to drive them out before you. You are to be blameless before the Lord your God. For these nations you are going to dispossess, listen to the soothsayers and diviners, but as for you, the Lord your God has not allowed you to do so. The Lord your God will raise for you a prophet like me among you. From your countrymen you shall listen to him. This is in accordance with everything you asked from the Lord your God at Horeb on the day of assembly, saying, Do not let me hear the voice of the Lord my God again, and do not let me see this great fire any more, or I will die. As the Lord said to me, they have spoken well. I will raise up from them a prophet among their countrymen like you. I will put words in his mouth, and he shall speak them to everything I command him. It shall then come about that whoever does not listen to the words which speaks in my name, I myself will require it of him. But the prophet who speaks a word presumptuously in my name, a word I have not commanded him to speak, or which he speaks in the name of other gods, that prophet shall die. And if you say in your heart, How will you recognize the word the Lord has not spoken? When the prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, the thing does not happen or come true. That is the thing the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken presumptuously. You are not to be afraid of him. 19. Cities of refuge. When the Lord your God cuts off the nations whose land the Lord your God has given you, and you dispossess them and settle in their cities and their houses, you shall set aside for yourself 3 cities in the midst of your land which the Lord has given you to possess. You shall prepare the roads for yourself, and divide into 3 regions the territory which your land of your land which the Lord your God has given you as inheritance, so that anyone who commits manslaughter may flee there. That's like the 3rd time he's reminded his people of that. If you remember from the previous section, there was a whole thing about setting a specific city, where someone who accidentally kills someone can flee to. And he's talking about that here as well. Now this is the case of one who commits manslaughter, who may flee there and live, when he kills his friend unintentionally, not hating him previously, as when a person goes in the forest with his friend to cut wood, and his hand swings the axe to cut down the tree, and the iron head slips off the handle and strikes his friend so he dies. He may flee to one of those cities and live. Otherwise, the avenger of the blood may pursue him in the heat of his anger, and overtake him because the way is long, and take his life even though he is not sentenced to death. He had not hated him previously. Therefore I command you, saying, You shall set aside for yourself 3 cities. And if the Lord your God enlarges your territory, just as he has sworn to your fathers, and gives you all the land he promised to give your fathers, if you carefully follow all of his commandments which I am commanding you today, to love the Lord your God, walk in his ways always, then you shall add 3 more cities for yourself, besides these 3. So innocent blood will not be shed in the midst of your land, which the Lord your God is giving you as inheritance, and guilt for bloodshed will not be on you. But if there is a person who hates his neighbor, and waits in ambush for him and rises up against him and strikes him so he dies, and flees to one of these cities, the elders of his city shall send men and take him from there, and hand him over to the avenger of blood, so he may die. You shall not pity him, but you shall eliminate the guilt for the bloodshed of the innocent from Israel, so that it may go well for you. Laws of landmark and testimony. You shall not displace your neighbor's boundary marker, which the ancestors have set. In your inheritance you shall inherit the land which the Lord your God has given you to possess. A single witness shall not rise up against a person regarding any wrongdoing or any sin that he commits. And on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses a matter shall be confirmed. If a malicious witness rises up against a person to testify against their wrongdoing, then both people who have dispute shall stand before the Lord, before the priests and the judges who will be in the office in those days. And the judges shall investigate thoroughly, and if the witness is a false witness and he has testified against his brother falsely, then you shall do to him just as he planned to do with his brother. So you shall eliminate the evil from among you. And the rest of the people will hear and be afraid, and will never again do such an evil thing among you. You shall not show pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, and foot for foot. Laws of warfare. When you go out to battle against your enemies and see chariots, horses, and people more numerous than you, do not be afraid of them, for the Lord your God has brought you up from the land of Egypt is with you. When you are approaching the battle, the priest shall come forward and speak to the people. He shall say to them, Hear, Israel, you are approaching the battle today against your enemies. Do not be faint-hearted, do not be afraid or panic or be terrified by them, for the Lord your God is the one who is going with you, to fight for you against your enemies, to save you. The officers shall speak to the people, saying, Who is the man that has built a new house but has not dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, otherwise he might die in the battle, and another man would dedicate it. And who is the man that has planted a vineyard but has not put it to use? Let him go and return to his house, otherwise he might die in battle, and another man will put it to use. And who is the man that is betrothed to a woman and has not married her? Let him go and return to his house, otherwise he might die in battle, and another man would marry her. Then the officers shall speak further to the people, and saying, Who is the man that is afraid and faint-hearted? Let him go to return to his house, so he does not make his brother's hearts melt like his heart. When the officers have finished speaking to the people, they shall appoint commanders of armies at the head of the people. When you approach a city to fight against it, you shall offer it terms of peace. And if it agrees to make peace with you and opens to you, then all the people who are found in it shall become your forced labor and to serve you. However, if it does not make peace with you, but makes war against you, then you shall besiege it. When the Lord your God gives it into your hand, you shall strike all the men in it with the edge of the sword. However, the women, the children, the animals, everything that is in the city, and all of its spoils, you shall take as plunder for yourself, and you shall use the spoils of the enemies which the Lord your God has given you. This is what you shall do to the cities that are very far from you, when these are not cities of these nations nearby. Only in the cities of these people your God has given you as inheritance, you shall not leave anything that breathes alive. Instead, you shall utterly destroy them, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, the Jebusite, just as the Lord your God has commanded you. So they will not teach you to do all the same detestable practices with theirs which they have done for their gods, by which you would sin against the Lord your God. When you besiege a city for a long time, to make war against it in order to capture it, you shall not destroy its trees by swinging an axe against them, for you may eat from them. You shall not cut them down, for it is the tree of the field a human, that it should not be besieged by you. Only the trees that you know are not fruit trees you shall destroy and cut down, so that you may construct siege works against the city that is making war against you until it falls. Expiation of a crime. If a person who has been killed by someone is found lying in the open country in the land which the Lord your God has given you to possess, and it is not known who struck him, then your elders and your judges shall go out and measure the distance to the cities which are around the one who was killed. And it shall be that city which is nearest to the person that is killed, that is, the elders of the city shall take a heifer of the herd that has not been worked and has not pulled a yoke, or in a yoke. And the elders of that city shall bring down the heifer to a valley with running water, which has not been plowed or sown, and they shall break the heifer's neck there in the valley. Then the priests, the sons of Levi, shall come forward, because your God has chosen them to serve him, and to bless the name of the Lord. And every dispute and violent crime shall be settled by them. And all the elders of the city which is nearest to the person that killed shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck was broken in the valley. And they shall respond and say, Our hands did not shed his blood, nor did our eyes who did. Forgive your people Israel, who you've redeemed, Lord, and do not place the guilt for innocent blood in the midst of your people Israel. And the guilt for bloodshed shall be forgiven them. So you shall remove the guilt from the innocent blood from your midst, when you do what is right in the eyes of the Lord. Domestic relations. When you go out to battle against your enemies, and the Lord your God hands them over to you, and you take them away captive, and you see among them captives a beautiful woman, you are strongly attracted to her, and would take for her as a wife for yourself. You shall bring her into your home, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails. Then also she will remove the clothes of her captivity and remain in your house, and weep for her father and mother a full month. After that you may have relations with her and become her husband, and she shall be your wife. But it shall be, if you are not pleased with her, and you shall let her go wherever she wishes. And you shall certainly not sell her for money. You shall not treat her as merchandise, since you have humiliated her. If a man has two wives, the one loved and the other unloved, both the loved and the unloved have borne him sons, and the firstborn son belongs to the unloved, then it shall be on the day that he dwells what he owns as inheritance to his sons, he is not allowed to treat the son of the loved wife as the firstborn at the expense of the son of the unloved, who actually is the firstborn son. On the contrary, he shall acknowledge the firstborn son of the unloved wife by giving a double portion of everything that he owns, for he was the beginning of his strength, to him belongs the right of the firstborn. If any person has a stubborn or rebellious son who does not obey his father or his mother, when they discipline him, he does not listen to them. Then his father and mother shall seize him, and bring him out to the elders of the city as the gateway of his hometown. And they shall say to the elders of his city, This son is ours is stubborn and rebellious. He does not obey us. He is thoughtless and given to drinking. Then all the men of his city shall stone him to death. You shall eliminate the evil from your midst, and all Israel will hear about it and fear. Now if a person has committed a sin carrying the sentence of death, and he is put to death, you hang him on a tree. His body is not to be left overnight on the tree. You shall certainly bury him on the same day. For he who is hanged is cursed of God. And you shall not defile your land which the Lord your God has given you as an inheritance. Various laws, 22. You shall not see your countryman's ox or his sheep straying away, and avoid them. You shall certainly bring them back to your countryman. And if your countryman is not near you, you do not know him, you shall bring it to your house, and it shall remain with you until your countryman looks for it, and you shall restore it to him. You shall also do this with his donkey, and you shall do the same with his garment, and you shall do likewise with any lost property of your countryman, which has been lost by him and you have found. You are not allowed to avoid them. You shall not see your countryman's donkey or his ox fallen on the road. You shall avoid them, and you shall certainly help raise them up. A woman shall not wear a man's clothing, nor shall a man put on a woman's clothing, for if it does these things, is an abomination to the Lord your God. If you happen to come upon a bird's nest along the way, in any tree or on the ground, with young ones or eggs in it, and the mother sitting on the young or the eggs, you shall not take the mother with the young. You shall certainly let the mother go. But the young you may take for yourself, in order that it may go well for you, and you may prolong your days. When you build a new house, you shall make a parapet for your roof, that you shall not bring guilt for bloodshed or your house for anyone who falls from it. You shall not sow your vineyard with two kinds of seed, otherwise all the produce of the seed will have sown, and the yield for the vineyard will be forfeited in the sanctuary. You shall not plow an ox and a donkey together. You shall not wear a material of wool and linen combined together. You shall make for yourselves tassels on the four corners of your garment, which with you cover yourself. Laws on morality. If any man takes a wife and goes into her and then turns against her, and he charges her with shameful behavior and publicly defames her and says, I took this woman when I came near her, I did not find her to have evidence of virginity. Then the girl's father and the mother shall take and bring up the evidence of the girl's virginity to the elders on the city of the gate. And the girl's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as a wife, but he turned against her. Behold, he has charged her with shameful behavior. I did not find your daughter to have evidence of virginity. But this is the evidence of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread out the garment before the elders of the city. And the elders of the city shall take the man and rebuke him. They shall fine him 100 shekels of silver, and give it to the girl's father, because he publicly defamed a virgin of Israel. And he shall remain his wife. He is not allowed to divorce her all his days. But if this charge is true, and they did not find the girl to have evidence of virginity, they shall bring the girl to the doorway of her father's house, and the men of the city shall stone her to death, because she has committed a disgraceful sin in Israel by playing the prostitute in her father's house. You shall eliminate the evil from among you. If a man is found sleeping with a married woman, both of them shall die. But the man who slept with a woman and the woman, you shall eliminate the evil from Israel. If there is a girl who is a virgin betrothed to a man, and another man finds her in the city and sleeps with her, you shall bring them both out to the gate of the city and shall stone them to death. The girl because she did not cry out for help, even though she was in the city, and the man because she violated his neighbor's wife. You shall eliminate the evil from among you. But if a man finds the girl is betrothed in the field, and the man seizes her and rapes her, only the man who raped her shall die. And you are not to do anything to the girl, for there is no sin in the girl worthy of death. For just as a man raises against his neighbor and murders him, so is this case. When he found her in the field, the betrothed girl cried out, but there was no one to save her. If a man finds a girl who is a virgin and is not betrothed, and he seizes her and has sexual relations with her, and they are discovered, then the man who had sexual relations with her shall give the father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall become his wife, because he has violated her. He is not allowed to divorce her all his days. A man shall not take his father's wife in marriage, so he does not uncover his father's garment. Wow, that he has to say these things, huh? Persons excluded from the assembly. No one who is emasculated or has his male organ cut off may enter the assembly of the Lord. No one of illegitimate birth may enter the assembly of the Lord. None of his descendants, even to the 10th generation, may enter the assembly of the Lord. No Ammonite, Moabite may enter the assembly of the Lord. None of their descendants, even to the 10th generation, may ever enter the assembly of the Lord. Because they did not meet with you with food and water on the way when you came out of Egypt, but because they hired against you Balaam, the son of Beor, from Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse you. Nevertheless, the Lord your God was unwilling to listen to Balaam, but the Lord your God turned the curse into a blessing for you, because the Lord your God loves you. You shall never seek their peace from the prosperity of all your days. You shall not loathe an Edomite, for he is your brother. You shall not loathe an Egyptian, because you are a stranger in his land. The sons of the 3rd generation who are born to them may enter the assembly of the Lord. When you go out as an army against your enemies, you shall be on guard against every evil thing. If there is among you any man who is unclean because of a nocturnal emission, and he must go outside the camp, he may not re-enter the camp. But when evening approaches, he shall bathe himself in water, and at sundown he may re-enter the camp. You shall also have a place allocated outside the camp, so that you may go out there and relieve yourself. And you shall have a spade among your tools, and it shall be when you sit down outside, you shall dig with it, and shall turn and cover up your excrement. Since the Lord your God walks in the midst among your camp to save you and defeat your enemies before you, so your camp must be holy. He must not see anything indecent among you, or he will turn away from you. You shall not hand over to his master a slave who has escaped from his master to you. He shall live with you in your midst, in the place that he chooses, in one of your towns where it pleases him. You shall not mistreat him. None of the daughters of Israel shall be a cult prostitute, nor shall any of the sons of Israel be a cult prostitute. You shall not bring the earnings of a prostitute or the money for a dog in the house of the Lord your God as payment or for any vowed offering, but because both of these are abomination to the Lord your God. You are not to charge interest to your countrymen, interest on money, food, or anything that may be loaned on interest. You may charge interest to a foreigner, but to your countrymen you shall not charge interest. So the Lord your God may bless you in all you undertake in the land which you are about to enter to possess. When you make a vow to the Lord your God, you shall not delay to pay it, for the Lord your God will certainly require it of you, and it will be a sin for you. However, if you refrain from making any vows, it will not be a sin for you. You shall be careful to perform what goes out your lips, since in fact you have vowed a voluntary offering to the Lord your God, whatever you have promised. When you enter your neighbor's vineyard, you may eat grapes until you are satisfied, but you are not to put any in your basket. When you enter your neighbor's standing grain, you may pluck the heads of the grain with your hand, but you are not to use a sickle on your neighbor's standing grain. 24. Law of divorce. When a man takes his wife and marries her, and it happens, if she finds no favor in his eyes because he has found some indecency in her, that he writes to her a certificate of divorce, puts it in her hand, and sends her away from his house. And she leaves his house and becomes another man's wife. And the latter husband turns against her, writes her a certificate of divorce and puts it in her hand, sends her away from his house. Or if the latter husband who took it to her to be his wife dies, then her former husband who sent her away is not allowed to take her back again, for she has been defiled. For that is an abomination before the Lord. You shall not bring sin on the land which the Lord your God has given you as inheritance. When a man takes a new wife, he is not to go out with the army, or be assigned any duty. He shall be free at home for 1 year, and shall make his wife, whom he has taken, happy. Various laws. No one shall seize a handmill or an upper millstone as a pledge for a loan, since he will be seizing the debtor's means of life as a pledge. If someone is caught kidnapping any of his countrymen of the sons of Israel, and he treats him as merchandise and sells him, then that thief shall die. So you shall eliminate the evil from among you. Be careful about an infestation of leprosy. You are very attentive and act in accordance with everything that the Levitical priests teach you. Just as I have commanded them, you shall be careful to act. Remember what the Lord your God did to Miriam on the way out as you came out of Egypt. Yeah, she died. When you make your neighbor any kind of loan, you are not to enter his house to take the pledge. You shall stand outside, and the person whom you are making the loan shall bring the pledge outside to you. If he is a poor man, you shall not sleep with his pledge. When the sun goes down, you shall certainly turn the pledge to him, so that he may sleep in his cloak and bless you. It will be righteousness before you for the Lord your God. You shall not exploit a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether he is one of your countrymen or one of your strangers who in your land or the towns. You shall give him his wages on his day before the sun sets, for he is poor and sets his heart on it, so he does not crowd against you to the Lord. It becomes a sin in you. Fathers shall not be put to death for their sons, nor shall sons be put to death for their fathers. Everyone shall be put to death for his own sin alone. You shall not pervert the justice due to a stranger or an orphan, nor seize the widow's garment as a pledge. You are to remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. Therefore I am commanding you to do this thing. When you reap your harvest in your field and forget a sheaf in the field, you are not to go back to get it. It shall belong to the stranger, the orphan, and the widow, in the order in which the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. When you beat the olives off the olive tree, you are not to search through the branches again. That shall be left for the stranger, the orphan, and for the widow. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, you are not to go out over it again. That shall be left for the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. You shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore I am commanding you to do this thing. 25. Various laws. More various laws. If there is a dispute between people and they go to court, and the judges decide their case, and they declare the righteous innocent and pronounce the wicked guilty, then it shall be if the wicked person deserves to be beaten, the judge shall make him lie down, have him beaten in the presence with a number of lashes according to this wrongful act. He may have him beaten 40 times, but not more, so that he does not have him beaten within many more lashes than these, that your brother does not become contemptible in your eyes. You shall not muzzle the ox while it is threshing. When the brothers live together, and one of them dies and has no son, the wife of the deceased shall not be married outside the family to a strange man. Her husband's brother shall have relations with her, and take her to himself as his wife, perform the duty of the husband's brother to her. It shall be that the firstborn to whom she gives birth shall assume the name of his father's deceased brother, so that his name will not be wiped out from Israel. But if the man does not desire to take his brother's widow, then his brother's widow shall go up to the gate of the elders and say, My husband's brother refuses to establish a name for his brother in Israel. He is not willing to perform the duty of his brother's brother to me. Then the elders of the city shall summon him and speak to him. If he persists and says, I do not desire to take her, then his brother's widow shall come up to him in the sight of the elders, pull his sandal off his foot, spit in his face, and she shall declare, This is what is done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. And in Israel his family shall be called by the name, the house of him whose sandal was removed. So kind of like public ashamed. If two men and his countrymen have a fight with each other, and the wife of the one comes up to save her husband from the fight who was hitting him, and she reaches out her hand and grasps that man's genitals, you shall cut off her hand. You shall not show pity. You shall have your bag differing weights, large and small. You shall not have in your house differing measures, large and small. You shall have a correct and honest weight. You shall have a correct and honest measure, so that your days may prolong in the land which the Lord your God has given you. For anyone who does these things, everyone who acts unjustly is an abomination to the Lord your God. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you came out of Egypt, how he confronted you on the day and attacked among you all the stragglers at your rear when you were tired and weary. He did not fear God. So it shall come about when the Lord your God has given you rest from your surrounding enemies, in which the Lord your God has given you as an inheritance to possess, then you shall wipe out the mention of his name Amalek from under heaven. You must not forget. Okay. 26, but we're going to stop here. So, most of the chapters that we read were reminders of prior things that the Lord had already spoken of in Leviticus, as well as Numbers. Just various laws that he wanted his people to keep when it comes to, adultery, virgins, that kind of thing. So the Lord is really, really wanting his people to follow these laws, follow the Lord's commandments, so that they can live the way the Lord wants them to and hit the promised land. So we'll continue on next week. Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you for watching. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas and a wonderful 2026. Looking forward to this year. Should be a good one. We just want to praise the Lord for everything that we do. Thanks, guys. See you later.